Jesus is King. Welcome back to the Lay Apostolate on Community of Catholic. This is a series where we talk all about lay concerns of lay people, being a lay person, the lay vocation, all that good stuff. And I'm joined by my friend Kevin Symonds. Kevin, thanks so much for having coming on the show today. How you doing, brother?
Oh, holding my own, doing all right, and I think it's been a while actually. It was since 2021, I think, since we were here together last.
Oh, I don't know. I know we did one show on Fatima. It was called Disputed Questions of Fatima, and
Mm.
it's on Community of Catholic, and we just kind of like went through a lot of basics. But if you don't know Kevin, he is the author of numerous texts, lots of great texts that go into controversial matters. But the newest one is the second edition of his book, the third part of the Secret of Fatima. So the second edition just came out, and this we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about all of the guild members' questions about the controversies about this particular thing. But before we do, before we talk about all those things, Kevin, you are working for a publishing house, and you wanted to promote a number of those books. So what's the publishing house that you're working for right now, and what books would you like to promote besides this one?
Oh, yeah. I recently started working full time for Preserving Christian Publications up in Boonville, New York,
Oh, I
and
love that. I love that press.
yeah, we have recently started to reprint the ascetical works of Saint Alphonsus de Liguori. It's about 22 volumes, but actually 20 actual books because two are combos. And the first three have come out, and we are in process with the other volumes. So I just wanted to put a quick pitch out there. It's as I go through and I edit the manuscripts. I'm like, it's just there's such a deep wisdom there, and I think it's very relevant to things going on in our world today, things that we need to reclaim as Catholics. So I think they're very good series of books for people to have, and we're working on. Like I said, only three have come out, and we have 19 more to go. But thankfully, we're getting there. We've got some really good. I've got some great team with proofreaders, and we're getting things knocked out here, and we're hoping to start getting things out a little bit faster here. So yeah.
That's really exciting because it's because the English editions of Alphonsus seem to have gone out of print. They had it seemed like they had a complete works in the late 19th century or something. But
The 1800s, 1880s, 1890s, yeah.
where is I just found the entry of the Theologia Moralis. Where do I find the
If
ascetical text on the website?
if you could, did you type in ascetical works of Saint Alphonsus
I just
in the
searched
search?
Alphonsus and I got 10 products.
Oh,
Let's see.
okay. Well, let
Historia
me
Juris.
actually. I
Uh,
might be able to solve this really quick
ascetical.
because. Oh, you found it?
No, I'm just
Oh,
searching. Now I'm
oh,
searching ascetical.
oh, okay. Because I actually, because of my work, I can pull up the link to the first one here for you.
Oh, great. Yeah. Send
Uh,
me the link. We'll
I
put it
can
on
pull
the
it.
show
I'll
here.
put it here in the put it here in the private
Got it.
chat here on the StreamYard thing.
Oh,
That's for the
fantastic.
first one, and then the second one. Copy link URL here. I am very happy to be fairly tech savvy.
Technology is great when it works. Well, this is
Okay.
great news. Great news for the Church Universal to have Saint Alphonsus back in print. I don't know how many works are his opera omnia, but many, 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 dozens and dozens. Um, and it's
There's a
great.
lot,
So this is
and
exciting. Very exciting. I didn't even know that PCP was putting this out. So that's fantastic. Cool.
yeah, we're
All right.
working to get some marketing together and stuff like that. We've got a great team of proofreaders, good colleagues, and we're working on getting it out there for everybody. So
Sweet. Oh, fantastic. Well, I will contact them myself for marketing purposes. So let's talk about Fatima. So your second edition book. So I have the first edition here in print. This is on the third part of the Secret Fatima. Here's the first edition. And the second edition, there's some chapters were taken out. You added a few chapters.
Mhm.
My favorite part of the second edition that I could tell was the final chapter where you really brought everything together and analyzed everything. You really looked deep at what was going on in 1960, because we're going to talk about, that was the year that the third part of The Secret was supposed to be, or talk about all of that. So what's your favorite part of the second edition?
Oh my goodness. Well, first, let me. I want to issue an apology. The website that you had for my website, the second edition of my Fatima book art blog entry. I don't know what happened. The picture is not that blurry in the actual publication. I don't know what WordPress did, but but
But all
it made
right.
it blurry, and I can't
Yeah,
figure out
right.
what happened. I've tried, and I'm just like, you know what? I've got so many other things on my plate right now. But this, I blog post up to kind of give people a rough idea, because some people bought the first edition and they may, well, what's different between the first and the second? So I kind of provided this general outline. Um, the one chapter, the thing that I'm very happy about is it's leaner, and I've got it about four different chapters, and it's much more condensed, and I was able finally to tackle some difficult subjects that I wasn't able to cover in the first edition, because there were some various reasons, essentially. And out of all of those different chapters, the one that I really like, especially what I especially like, is the new chapter 7, because I go into matters with Cardinal Ottaviani and the things that were happening with him. Cardinal, I'm sorry, not Cardinal Ottaviani, pardon me, Cardinal Capavilla, and he was the personal secretary to John the 23rd and had eyes on the ground when the document was opened in 1959, the third part of the Secret of Fatima. And so uh, I wasn't able to get to that in the first edition because he had just passed away in May of 2016, and there was just too much chaos going on at the time. So I wasn't able to do as in-depth research into that as I would have liked. But now, the advent of the passing of the past several years, there's now a foundation that was started by, I think, one of his own secretaries or some a priest that knew him. They started his own association for Capavila. So now they're about preserving his documents and his legacy, and people can contact them for information. It was just a better timing, basically. So I was really, really happy that we can finally have an in-depth investigation on the Capabila angle, which is a very important angle for traditional-minded Catholics, especially after the events from 2006 onward.
Excellent. So we'll get into that and why that's important, especially for the trads. But first, I want to start with what seems to be, at least maybe you agree or disagree, it seems to be one of the most important sentences of your entire book, which comes on page 305, where you
All
say
right.
this, quote, without a continued firm pastoral and comprehensive study of the matter for the church, the debate will continue. What then of the call of Our Lady of Fatima to pray, make sacrifices, and recuperation? Will it be fully heeded, or will people be too preoccupied with controversies? End quote. I loved this because it seems to be, and I love that concluding chapter because you really brought home, like, why is it so important that we delve deep into the third part of The Secret in a very spiritual and pious way, and not be so concerned about all the sensationalism? There's plenty of sensationalism that's needs to be addressed. That's true, and you need to deal with that, right? But the whole point of Fatima is to repent. you know, but this brings up the very first question I want to ask you from our guild member Wesley, and he says, "Why is First Saturday and the Fatima devotion not more widespread, at least in the U.S.? Many dioceses don't even have a Saturday morning mass to allow someone to follow the devotion, only on Saturday night." What are your thoughts on any of that?
Okay, well, my specialty is more questions regarding the third part of the Secret of Fatima. Other areas I will answer to the best of my to the to the best of my ability, which is a little more limited than the questions on the third part of the Secret. So let me just put that little disclaimer out there. Um, well, if I'm going to be brutally honest, I want to tie. I've got a lot on my mind these days, and I'm going to tie in something. that people may not really think about too often. Um, there is an issue with vocations in the church, and a lot of priests are overworked. They're getting burned out. They're burning candles at both ends. And so they have to get ready for Saturday vigil and Sunday masses. And sometimes they're working with four different parishes. Like I know one priest, I know of a priest in Michigan, for instance, who almost right after he was ordained became the pastor of four different parishes. How do you have a Saturday morning mass to be able daily mass to be able to work, have act that part of the devotion for the five first Saturdays when you're going to have four different parishes with their own different mass schedules and you're being torn in all these different places? It's sad. But that is a reality that a lot of priests will talk about. Is they're overworked. They just can't do it, or they find it extremely difficult, and it strains their schedules already to do it. So yeah, I know different priests are able to do it in accordance with their own daily schedules, but I suspect that they're already being stretched thin as it is a lot of our clergy today in the Latin Church. So I don't think that a lot of them are all that inclined to be able to do it because they have to think, well, personal devotion versus Sunday obligation, and they're going to go in favor of the Sunday obligation, as well as what their own bodies can permit, because if they just get overworked, they're
Yeah.
tired out. I mean, it's just crazy. Now that's one part. That's one angle. The other angle to the question was, why hasn't it been more well known? I'm to be honest, I'm not sure if this gentleman's experience, Wesley, I think his name was. You said Wesley or Wes?
Yes.
Um, I'm not too sure of his experience of the church here in the United States, but I know a lot of people know about the first Saturday devotion, the five first Saturdays devotion, and a lot of it is just that what we just talked about with the practical side of it. I mean, where do they find the time to carve this in? Uh, so a lot of them would like to do it. Some of them are able to do it, but it's just going to depend upon the individual priest as well as the circumstances that he's under with one or more parishes that he is serving under, or serving, I should say, not serving under.
Now I have let me ask one more kind of addressing some of the overall thrust of your work, because it seems, and you had a famous debate between yourself and Mr. Christopher Ferrara at an Angeles press conference, which is a great debate, by the way. But it seems that a lot of your scholarship is addressing traditionalist concerns and traditionalist work on that. And you make a comment on page 275. You say this, quote, much of the traditionalist manner of proceeding in these discussions has been characterized by insufficient and even defective scholarship. Can you elaborate on that comment you make? And I know you can go into specifics about the particular sources that are defective. So can you elaborate on that comment?
Yes. In chapter 13, I divided up there were some considerations that have arisen over the years since the publication of the third part of The Secret of Fatima in June of 2000. And subsection 4, chapter 13, there is the exchange of ideas. And so it has been, as quoted, I hear the words could sound so heavy and almost offensive, or perhaps offensive to some people. Within the context of the book, it's not. I don't think the words fall that heavy.
Yeah, I
But
agree. Yeah, I
so,
kind
but and I'm not saying I don't think that you're trying to put like a gotcha question or anything like that. But I just wanted to contextualize that a little bit so that people understand a little bit better, so that they understand where I'm coming from, my own heart on the matter, as well as my mind. I It's a consideration with this is the fact that it has been a lot of traditionalist Catholics that have been posing questions. A lot of more liberal minded Catholics simply don't care. I'll give you an example. 25 years ago, I was in a situation where I was in a conversation with a nun, actually, and the subject of Fatima specifically came up. And I mean, she literally like put her hand up to my face and said, I don't want to hear what happened to three kids 100 years ago. It's none of my business. I wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. So she wasn't going to care about questions regarding the third part of the secret of Fatima or the devotion, the 5 first centuries devotion. She put her hand up in my face. That was that. Uh, but more traditional minded Catholics have asked questions. So, insofar as they have been kind of pushing that envelope and creating the literature on the subject, it's important for people to address that literature, and that's what I was trying to do. It's not one-sided that I was trying necessarily. It's just on matters of the third part of the secret. A lot of those questions have been raised by traditional-minded Catholics, and so yes, it comes across as me being focused on that, but not because I try to have not because it is an animus or anything, but rather because they have been raising questions and not really getting too many answers. And so I said, well, if the Holy Father has told us to, reach people where they're at, why don't we address these questions? Let's look into this. Let's do the deep dive research and have a go at it. So that's where I'm at in my own research, in my life, my mind, and my heart, if I may say, on that subject.
Yeah, and let me just say, I mean, I am a trad, and people need to understand, if you're familiar with Kevin's work, he is a friend of the traditionalists. He's not someone. He's not just trying to throw stones at us or anything like that. He's actually taking us seriously, which is more than a lot of Catholics out there. And trads, we do it to ourselves a lot of times. I know that, but these are serious questions, and you say that in the text as well. I didn't mean to kind of pluck the quote out of context, because you do say in the text, like, these are serious concerns raised by the trads. They need to be addressed. They're very important. And so this is what's so great about your text, is that it's really taking these things into consideration and going deep into them.
Yeah, and as I said, especially in the introduction to the way the beginning of the book, there are statements that are in the book that may seem like kind of jarring or shocking to people, but I'm always to be read from the perspective of charity. I'm not trying, as you say, throw stones at people, go nana nana boo boo, nothing like that. It's just more about no, 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 no. If we're going to do this, let's have a civil discourse, right? We need to be civil about this. you know, I agree with some things, and I state things very clearly in the book. Some positions that various traditional Catholic figures have said, I'm like, yeah, actually, that's something that needs to be addressed. Other parts, I'm like, no, I don't agree, and here's why I don't agree. But if it's all civil, if it's done under the law of charity, in the love
Yeah.
of God, Christ's love of neighbor, I, which is what I tried to do. I don't think that we could. I don't think it's about throwing stones. Definitely not. No. And as I make very clear in the introduction, I'm to be read from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into more specific things. One of the most important aspects of your work that struck me, even from the first edition, was the fact of how the media has influenced the whole dissemination regarding the third part of the secret, because what was released in 2000 did not include the transcript of the whole press conference and how they elaborated and Ratzinger discussed these things. Can you talk at all to, because like when I look at the Vatican website, it has basically that booklet, but it doesn't have the further explanation and why you included. Can you discuss that text, which you put into print for the first time in English in your first edition? Can you discuss what is the importance of that transcripts?
Well, what people say is important, right? And when when Holy Mother Church released the third part of the secret officially on June 26, 2000, it did so in a press conference. And there were two parts to that press conference. The first part were the speeches, or the formal term is interventions or allocutions, by Cardinal Ratzinger and then Archbishop, later Cardinal Tarcisio Bertone. And and then of course, the text itself was, I kind of lumped the book itself in that first